We are live once more. Welcome back to the On 3 podcast, everyone. I got myself, Salvi. I got my co-host, Naveed. And today we have a very special guest. She's definitely going to give me a run for my money about everything I know about sports. And she just might be one of the funniest people I know on Twitter/X. She's immersed into the world of Toronto sports. And without further ado, introducing Noor Zainab.
Never heard that one before.
Yeah, that's the first time we were doing this. But thank you for being here once again. For people, a bit of context, we're having some technical difficulties. So we've already been on this podcast for 10 minutes, but we might have to redo some stuff.
It's all good.
But anyways, thanks for being patient with us. So to give people who might not hear the 10 minutes that we just talked about, a bit of a rundown once again. Would love to give you the floor to just kind of talk about yourself, kind of how you got into sports media and your journey so far.
Yeah, you're so lucky. I know this story like down pat. I'm like regurgitated it so many times, but no, I love it. Don't you worry about it. I've been doing this for so long, and there's so many times that I'm recording something, and I'm like, wait, we didn't press start, guys. Yeah, we're 10 minutes and we haven't pressed start. But no, it's interesting because I told you guys like I wasn't supposed to be here. I was supposed to go to law school. I was supposed to apply for law school, and just being a girl who was into sports like growing up her life, I did not want to talk about it with guys. That was my thing. I'm like, I'm not going to lose my self-esteem, my night's sleep or whatever over it. So I would just go straight to like Twitter and do live commentary about whatever I'm watching. And I guess slowly people started to be like, okay, she's funny. Like she's not bad. And that turned into like, you know, a little bit bigger than that. And that got me to be, I guess you can say, noticed by one of a producer. And he told me that they're making a new company and he would love to have me on there to do their basketball content and just do whatever else I can to kind of get my reps in the door and figure out what this industry is about. And I did that. I was supposed to give my law school exam and I said, nope, that was a great convo with my parents. And then I had to go pivot to sports. And then I've been doing it for 3 years.
Well, that's amazing. Fun. That is awesome. So, again, to get into what we talked about a bit earlier, you mentioned you actually did law initially.
Yes.
And now you were studying towards law, and now you got into sports media through the opportunities presented to you. So what are, in terms of like the future between law and sports media, where do you see yourself? How's that going in the conversation with your parents about that?
You know, that's honestly, that's the tough part because when you go into it, you're young, you're like, you know, I was maybe 25, yeah. And I was like, this sounds great. This sounds awesome. Like I'm getting paid to talk about my favorite sport. Like who gets to talk about that? Who gets to do that ever? And I guess in those moments, like you're thinking to yourself, okay, down the line, like something can become bigger of this, or you can get a lot of other gigs, either through producing, hosting, even like reporting, whatever the case might be. But I think what I realize now later on is the Canadian landscape is way different than the American landscape. Mm-hmm. I think there's way more opportunities in America and way more reasons to grow and ways to grow than there are here. And I think we shoot ourselves in the foot being Canadian constantly when it comes to sport. Because if you look at the state of America, if you look at any sport, there's diehard fans. Like they almost have cult-like followings there. Yep. And they're so passionate about whatever they watch, whatever they follow. And I just don't see that ever translating here, ever. And I know that comes down to networks. So I'm going to point ringers at Bell and Rogers. I think they're the ones who control everything, and they're the ones who have the money to spend it on these networks. But they just don't. There's not a market when it comes to basketball. And you would think we just won a championship 5 years ago. And I get it. The team is ass right now. I understand, you know. But I'm still like, it still means that at the very least you should be upping your sports teams and making people, you know, be proud of it. And at the same time, I'm like, it's a great way to get your economy up. Like people are buying jerseys. They want to go to games. They want to buy those seats. Like they're doing things to make sure that they're paying in the economy, in the city. But we just don't have that here. We don't see that growth in Canada. On top of that, now you have players making their own podcasts. They're making their own media companies. They're taking control of their own narratives, their own conversation. So it kind of leaves the people like, who cover or who hosting, who are here to be analytical, kind of obsolete because you're sitting thinking to yourself, why would I care what Tom, Dick, and Harry have to say about the sport when like I can get
might
the
care
rundown?
what Dick has to say about the sport.
I mean, yeah, Dirty Dick, yeah, he can say whatever he wants. But like, I'm like, if Kevin Durant has a mic in front of him and he's going on and on about his play from last night, is that not so much more authentic to a fan compared to anybody else? So I think that's what it is, and it's crazy because we're seeing the landscape of it change in real time. Like this has happened a year or two ago, where players were like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go make my own podcast. I'll be in charge of my own conversation. So that's, I think, the weird part where you're like, okay, what will this industry even look like 5 years from now? Like, where is it going to go? So for me, it's just figuring out how do I fit in here, and if there's something else that I can do on top of fitting in here, I think I'm down to do that as well.
So you talked about the insanely competitive landscape of the sports media industry, right? So how do you think you've positioned yourself to, quote unquote, be something different than people that are prevalent within the industry?
I think I will say, and we don't like America a lot, and that's fine. I get it. But I think what they do with their content is so much more authentic and fan-oriented. And I think that's something that I've tried to apply myself, because you see a lot of analytics and stats and numbers, and I get it. Like, people want to know about the sport. It makes you smarter. It gets you more. It makes you a better observer of the game as well. I completely understand that. But I think what's lost in the conversation is, like, a lot of the people who are fans of the sport are people who have 9-to-5 jobs, are people who are working, and when they come back home, they want to turn their brain off. They want to scream at a TV and just be emotionally invested. Not mentally invested, just emotionally invested. And at that point, nobody wants to be told, hey, this is why the X and is an L. This is why Scotty Barnes' pass meant this. And the velocity of this dribble meant
You
that.
mean you don't listen to JJ Redick?
Dude, I can't even. I'm like, how like preposterous, how like obnoxious do you have to be and so stuff? Like, you're like, no, I talk about my sport and listen to me. I'm like, that's fine. I get it. There's a market for that. Yeah. But I think what I was able to do was just kind of make it about the fan experience. Just make it fun, make it jokey, make it still like, make it, you're watching a sport, and I get it. People have jobs from it, but it's a basketball sport. There's grown men dribbling a ball, putting it through a hoop. It doesn't have to be science. It's very easy.
And just taking a quick glance at your Twitter, I think over time, as someone that's consuming your account and anything NBA, I think you've developed a personality in relation to what you've put out.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, and I think that's different than, whatever, JJ Redick, Kendrick Perkins, anybody talking about basketball, right?
Yeah.
Does Perk talk about basketball?
No, he doesn't.
No. No, I appreciate that. That's really nice. Because I think that's what it is, right? Like, I think that's also the reason why I was able to get where I was, where for me, it was just authenticism and funny. I'm like, I just want to be here. I want to make it light of things. No one is here. And I get it. There's a market for people who want to watch the sport, be smarter for it, learn more about it. But I'm like, for the most part, those people want to actually cover the sport, which is why they look for that market. But 95% of the world is watching the sport just to turn their brain off and just to fucking relax for a second. That's it. So I think that's what because we made it to be like, oh, I'm just an intellectual. I watch basketball and I can tell you the stats about it. I'm like, it's not like, these are grown men. Like, it's not that serious. Take it easy.
So you're on your day-to-day, how does your day-to-day look like? Because you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned it during the first time or the second time we recorded, but you mentioned that it's you're almost getting paid to watch a sport. So in your day-to-day, like, I also imagine, so sports media, the games run from like 7 p.m. in the East Coast to like 1 a.m. sometimes. And then during the day you have shows and talk shows that you might be part of, or you're maybe creating your content. Yep. So how does your day-to-day look like? And is it 24/7 kind of where you just keep your brain on the whole time?
24/7. Oh. You're literally working all day, all night. Every single thing, like, you're in charge of all the, like, I have my notifications on for every single team, every news break, Woj, Shams, like, even I forget what the NFL.
I was gonna say you're like the female Shams.
I wish.
Well, what do you mean you wish? I think you got the characteristics there.
Am I the creep sitting outside their rooms having conversations, putting it out? But you know what's so funny? I actually went to Summer League one time, and I met Shams there. Yeah. And it was funny because can I say this? hopefully my parents aren't watching.
Yeah.
But I was like, whatever, a little deep.
Yeah.
And I walk out the arena and I just see like this like brown guy, and he's like, not tall, he's decent height,
Decently
whatever.
good looking, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's okay, yeah. And I'm like, that's Shams, guys. Like that is, I know who that is. That's Shams. And I don't remember I know what took over me, but I was just like, I'm gonna go to him.
Yeah.
And I just literally beeline to Shams. He's in the middle of a conversation with like whoever else. I beeline to him. I go straight to him. I'm like, hi, Shams. I'm Noor from Brampton. I don't know what
She pulled out the Brampton card.
I don't know what caused me to say Brampton. What came over me? I just thought, I'm like, brown to brown. He understands Brampton. And the funniest, he's like, yeah, I know where that is.
Oh, really?
He's like, yeah, I know
Of course he knows where Brampton
He's
is.
like, I know
Which
where
brown
that
man
is.
does not know where Brampton is?
He knew Brampton. So I was like, okay, damn, it goes a long way. Like people know Brampton. But Shams is good. He's funny.
I love how the Brampton identity is like so strong. Instead of saying from Toronto, you say I'm from Brampton.
I don't know what took over. I was like, not Canada, not Toronto. He has no idea who I am. I started was just like, Shams, I'm Noor from Brampton. And he's like, I know where that is. And my friend next to me is like, what's going on over here? But it was funny.
So would you say that's the first time you've been starstruck within the sports media industry?
No, I am always starstruck. Constantly,
Really?
to the point where my friends next to me, like my colleagues, are like petrified of having me out with them anywhere. Because if I see, and I will never be cool about it. I'm like, this is the thing. Like, I think this is the coolest thing to be able to see athletes. Because if you go to Summer League as well, Summer League is just like pretty much a hub of like all the athletes, everyone there. And you'll be walking down a hotel and you're watching like Kevin Durant come towards you, Devin Booker the other way. Like it's the crazy
So you met all of them?
I've seen them.
Yeah.
I haven't like gone up. I would not imagine going up to them ever in my life, but I've seen them.
Okay.
And it's just a surreal experience. But like my friends are like, keep it cool. I'm like, how am I supposed to keep it cool? I cannot.
Absolutely
And
not.
this one night, I think we were out in Vegas, and I see Pascal Siakam. Like he's with his posse. He pulls in. He's there, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, guys, that's spicy. And they're just like, no, keep it chill. Come on, keep it cool. But for me, it's always like I think it's cool. Like I think you should feel starstruck. Like you're,
Absolutely.
you should. I'm around these amazing, talented players, and anytime I see them, I'm like, this is still not like old to me. This still feels very new. So I love it.
I would lose my shit if I ran into Curry. That's for sure.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Oh, I
You got a
don't
big
know
Curry
what-
guy over here, by the way.
Oh, you should be. I don't know what I do.
Yo. I'm like, hopefully Curry doesn't hear this. If I have a kid, I'm gonna raise him to get married to one of Curry's daughters.
That's the boundary
or
right
the
there.
daughter can marry his son. There you go. Get into the family, the Curry family.
Speaking of
Get
which,
the jeans. Yeah.
your cat's name is Kawhi.
Yeah. Oh my God, you did the research.
Yes, we did. We were very prepared. Your cat's name is Kawhi.
You know what the craziest part is? He was named Kawhi before Kawhi got to Toronto. It wasn't even when I was a big Kawhi fan when he
Really?
was first. You don't, guys, the emotions I had to go through when we got Kawhi, but God had to get rid of DeRozan. I had to sit
I remember.
there, a pros and cons list. I'm like, come on, because I was the biggest Kawhi fan. To me, that's like amazing. But then at the cost of what we lost and how we lost, DeRozan, because he was so like, loyal, everything.
You're also breaking up like a friendship, like a best friend.
Yeah,
like,
you
just
know,
tearing them
team's
apart.
gonna be just like insane, but I knew what we were getting because I named my cat after Kawhi. I'm like, I know who this guy is, guys. Like, we're in good fucking hands.
Wait, so
And
you
good
named
hands.
your cat Kawhi before he was a Toronto Raptor?
Yeah, when he was with Spurs.
Wow.
He was literally with like his Manu Ginobili days. Like he
Oh,
was
wow.
with Pop, everything. I think it was before he got injured as well. So he was like still playing. He was just getting into this offensive game, but I loved his defense. I was like, this is because he was the guy that like got on the court. LeBron's gonna like the
Yeah,
like,
looked at the-
LeBron's
fuck
like,
that,
nah, I'm not doing this one. So I was just so into like, I love the fact that in the NBA where you have these, the locker room walks and the people, the photography, whatever, and they're all in their like nicest outfits. There's like crazy outfits too, obnoxious ones. And then he walks in. He's got his sweatsuit on. He's got his like not even headphones, like wired headphones in. He's driving his like old ass truck. And I'm like, this is a hooper. Like this is the guy.
Pure
Well,
hooper. Right there.
Pure hooper.
I think that's what you
hooper.
get though when you're head coached by Pop and then your mentor is Timmy D.
Timmy D, you got Ginobili. Like they're all about just Europe, right?
Yeah.
They're like, and Timmy is like not even American. He's pretty much Hawaiian too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, for him, he was just in the right spot, right time. He got molded to be the best player And we got our cat, and I was like, guys, he's Kawhi. Like, we're naming him Kawhi right away. And I believe that was like 2016 we got him.
Wow.
Yeah.
2016, 3 years later, we won a championship. I like to say I helped get that championship because I'm like, I put some good vibes in the universe, to do that. And then actually 2 years after that, we got another cat, and then I named him Shay because I'm trying to make the same thing happen with Shay.
Gotcha.
You know?
It's gonna happen. Bring the Canadian man's back home.
Dude,
Besides, already on that path.
I was gonna say it's already happening.
It's already happening.
I think we'll get there.
Bring Shea, Jamal, maybe Wiggins.
Okay, I don't know if they have that much cap space with all those first round trade picks.
I'll take Shea.
Yep.
Yeah, Wiggins is fine. Sorry.
Yeah. So what was your reaction with the Kawhi Fun Guy interview the first time?
Honestly, I was scared because my biggest thing also was I don't think he's gonna show up. I'm like he might not play. So that was the thing too, right? Where like, okay, you got Kawhi, amazing player. You're probably gonna win a championship. You could, but like you're losing DeMar, and he might not want to play. Like he hasn't played for a year. He's told you he doesn't want to be here. You might very well have a rental who doesn't even play a single game for the Raptors. Yeah. So I was just like, I just hope this guy shows up. Like I'm just hope he's there, and he did. He had the laugh. He was good vibes. Yeah. With Danny Green, and I just felt like it was setting the standard to be a good year. Yeah. And so much happened that year that I heard like in the locker room, in the back end, like Freddie and Kyle and Kawhi himself had like arguments and fights and Nick Nurse, but like you just didn't hear about it because it was.
Do you have any tea for us?
I don't. I wish, because I wasn't in the industry then. So all I just know is like little things I picked up on or my friends told me in the industry. So there was so much turmoil, but like just the way that they covered everything and put it behind the curtains, went out, got the championship. It was just phenomenal. What a year!
Toronto that year was just something else. Like,
that's the
being
reason
in the
why
city.
I look at Bell and Rogers and I'm like, you guys are freaking up. Like, how do you not look at 3 million people coming out for a parade and you're like, nah, they don't need any more money. It's fine. That's.
Go ahead.
So I was going to take it a bit back. You talked about getting into sports media and that whole industry, and you mentioned soccer was actually your first sport, but so how did you actually get into basketball?
So I got into basketball. Like I told you, I was not into it. Like I used to, I would have it playing in the background or like at friends or whatever, and I would just be like, I don't understand, like back and forth. Like, soccer to me just makes sense. One goal, bellissimo, beautiful, everything. And here, I had a friend who was really into basketball, and then he was like, hey, I'm gonna teach you. Like this is why you have to watch, because they're closer. They're in Toronto. Like you need a Toronto sports team to also get after, because they were like, it's cool that you like sports, but like local sports. Like, come on, let's get into local sports too. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'll watch this. You got to watch soccer. So we almost would like, swap our sports. And then I realized, I'm like, okay, it makes so much sense to be part of a team that is like 30 minutes down the street. You can actually buy a ticket. You can go watch it in person.
You can actually buy a ticket?
Yeah. I don't know.
Depending on your wallet. The size of your wallet.
Yeah, right? Nowadays, honestly, I'm telling you, Rogers and Bell, I'm going to have a problem with them. But yeah, like
it's a local team.
Yeah, local. It made it so much easier, and and then again, like if you're watching soccer, you're waking up at 7:00 in the morning on a Saturday, and that was ruining my Saturdays. Yeah. It was honestly, it was awful. So I'm like, okay, 7:00 at night. That's
so you were like a big soccer fan. Before.
I was a huge soccer fan.
Do you still follow or
not as much? Yeah. I don't know much. I know what's happening in the league itself, but I was a massive Chelsea fan. So I was a Chelsea fan for like, I would say 6-7 years, and I knew what they and I.
So this is when Drogba used to play for them, right?
I think Drogba came after. Drogba came in the middle, so I was a fan of them right when they got Fernando Torres.
Okay.
They had Torres, and he was actually like my favorite player in soccer. So I was a big Spain fan as well. So I'd watch like Spain, then I'd watch Chelsea, and then I was just like, shit, I can't make it to a game though. Like, it's what am I supposed to do? Yeah. So that's why I got into basketball, and basketball just took over a lot because I had to watch the other teams as well. And I just kind of, I guess, not lost interest in soccer, but like my team kind of fell off as well. Chelsea kind of fell off, and that kind of helped the case. And I found basketball to be way more of a convenient sport to follow, I think I'd say.
Do you follow Toronto FC at all?
Jays, Leafs, Argos.
Jays, I think you have to be like 85 years old to be able to follow.
I agree.
I can't do it.
He's 85 years old.
You follow? You like
yes. It's been
it?
dreadful. Everyone talks about 92, 93. I'm like, I was born in 95. What are you going to do? Just fingers crossed with Vlad and...
Is it your year?
I can't say that because people think it's the Leafs year, but they've been saying it for the last 55 years now.
Yeah, something like
the
that.
Leafs is just like noise in the background.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, you guys aren't winning anything.
But yeah, if there was a team, it'd actually be the Jays right now.
I was gonna say, I think the best team in the Toronto landscape is the Jays, right?
Yeah.
You've got the young prospects, you have and they've made it to the playoffs this year as well, didn't they?
That's correct. Yeah.
So you know a little bit.
Yeah,
you know a little bit.
Yeah,
I know they missed out on Shohei Ohtani. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yes,
So did
they
like 39 other
Yeah.
teams.
But I heard the Jays had like a good shot at him though.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that. Yeah, I was actually making videos for them at that point too, because they had
Oh,
like,
really?
the betting markets would be like, oh, you know, the next Shohei Ohtani team,
Yeah.
and then the Blue Jays would be like kind of up there, but this didn't work out. That's okay.
So you mentioned the betting market. So are you on the fan side of the betting or like the reporting side of, or like promoting it?
I would say the education side.
Oh,
of
there's an education side of betting?
That's what I call it. That's
Okay.
that's
Please
what I would
enlighten.
call it. Yeah. Because honestly, I think like sports betting itself, as everything, there's harm in everything. 1,000%. It's about how you indulge it. It's about your mental state towards it. It's about how you cater it to yourself, right? But I think the way that I saw it, I was like, I understand that it's very vulnerable for a lot of people, especially when it's age related. So I don't want it to be like, if I'm going to work in it, which unfortunately now in sports, if you're working in sports betting
Sports
is
betting
just
is a huge
so
part,
it's like it's, if anything, it's going to get worse and worse in years to come, and it's going to get legalized all throughout Canada. So just get ready. It's only legal in Ontario right now, but I think in the coming years, or at least this year, it should be moving across the provinces as well. So it's going to get even more part of your cycle, your like conversations, all that stuff. So I think there's still some taboo behind it, and I agree. I think there's a reason for it, and I'm okay with that. But that's why I think for me it becomes education, because I look at it in terms of like, if I'm looking at a spread and it's saying, okay, the Raptors are playing, let's say like the Pelicans today, and the Raptors are favored by 5 points. I'm thinking about why. Like, why are they favored by 5 points? What has their head-to-head looked like in the past? Have the Raptors won by more than 5 points against the Pelicans? Who shows up for the Raptors to give them those points? Are those players available today? What's their defense looks like? What about Pelicans? So for me, it becomes like, here's what Vegas said, but why did they say that? So let's look at the bigger picture behind it. So that's why I think for me it becomes education, where you become, I honestly became a way smarter consumer of basketball because I was understanding what these stats meant. I'm like, you know, if you look at a player prop, like, oh, Tatum tonight, 3+3s against, like, I don't know, the Nuggets. And you're like, okay, so how has he fared against the Nuggets in the past? How many threes has he had? What's their defensive game plan against them if he's going to be playing? So all those things, I think, yes, it's a little, you know, a very niche market in the very beginning, but if you look deeper into it, you just become way more of a well-rounded, understanding individual of the sport.
For sure. So have you noticed in terms of sports betting that taking that analytical approach versus just, you know, throwing a dart and like whatever, does the analytical approach work better, or is there like, does it actually help?
In terms of like winning that bet?
Yeah.
It's all in, honestly, for basketball, I'm going to say, I believe half of it is luck, and no, more than half is luck. And I would say maybe like 40% is like your research and stuff on it. But the issue with basketball is like, yeah, you can bet on, you see it, you can bet on it, but there's so many games all the time, and there's so many props, and there's so many injuries and people out, and some days people just don't want to play, or they're being benched or whatever. So I think things with like that, you can do as much research as you want, and you can, but it's just gonna depend on who's on the court at the end of the day. And I think with that, like a lot of it is just with luck. I think so.
For sure. I think for me, anytime I've taken like the time to actually analyze a bet I'm making, I've lost it.
Yeah, honestly, exactly.
Just screw it.
And you feel worse about it. You're like, I put the time and effort and research into this. I'm going to lose this money. Are you kidding me? And you're like, okay, I'm just going to throw a dart next time and see what happens. Yeah. No, I feel you.
See, I think I need to first get into betting, so I might make that pitch to my dad. Oh, education, analytics. Instead of being like, oh, yo, it's haram.
Yeah. I have to be like, I'm like, Dad, no, it's not just that. I'm like, Dad, I'm different approach, okay? Different approach.
Yeah.
He's like, okay.
Education.
Yeah, I think it's education.
So not only do you research everything basketball, there's the betting aspect to it as well, all educational. How do you consistently come up with creative ways to put out content, not only in terms of quantity, being able to keep up with it, but in terms of quality as well? Because it's like you said, it's always on the clock, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I think the crazy thing also is when you're growing, because you kind of have to hold both hand in hand, quality and quantity. And in that moment, like, I think for us, quality also just means how you're going to get other people's eyes on you. So the big thing for me was always just to make sure that we're covering trending topics. And the best part of basketball is that they're always trending topics. It's the biggest drama-filled, probably sports league there is out there. So there's always talking points, and they make our job easier. I'm not gonna lie. Like every night, there's a Draymond quote, or there's like, there's like a coach, Doc Rivers is saying some stupid shit. So it's like every night there's something to talk about the next day. So they make it way easier. Yeah. Now, in terms of covering it just yourself, because we did it differently, where like you're gonna have podcast conversations. We're on TV, not TV, sorry, but we're just like we have cameras on to have that conversation, like a more of a I would say like analytical role, or I do social hits. So I'll just have my phone and I make videos off of that. And each of them has their own separate way to get there, and their own separate, I would say, quality or like content kind of innovation thing there. But at the end of the day, I think it just comes down to like what's trending, what's out there, what are the players saying, what can we cover that people will care about, and that's what really ends up getting the hits, I would say.
Okay, so how did you become so funny? Did you?
My parents. Trauma.
Have you been always around tea your whole life? So that's why.
I think I just, from a very young age, I just wanted to always laugh. Like, I'm just like, I just want to laugh. I don't care about anything else. I just make life fun. Life is horrible. Life is tough. Life is hard. And nothing in life is easy. So then I was just like, for me, the best way to make myself feel better or people around me is to find a joke in everything. Like, nothing has to be that serious until something is that serious. And I think just having that perspective made me a little bit more self-aware in that, where I'm like, okay, the shit that I'm going through, like, is it the end of the world? Is it? And if it's not, joke about it. Like, find some humor in it. And that's why the Raptors sucking, I'm able to do that.
I was just going to ask, with the current state of the Raptors, how do we go about producing quality content to keep uplifting them?
Oh, man, that's been so tough. And I'm lucky right now because, like, my company's a little bit, they're trying to figure out what their video strategies are supposed to look like. So I'm like, okay, we don't have to do so much of the Raptors currently, which is great. But if I did have to, I think you gotta, like, if a team's sucking, you gotta give fans a reason to watch. Any reason to watch. And that would be my job to find it. And I think, honestly, I would just say they're a young team and there's a reason to tune in. There's gonna be so many growing pains. They're probably gonna suck more than they're good, but they're growing. And that's the beautiful part about that growing part. And it's honestly, it's tough. Like, it's tough to watch it. It's tough to care about it. That's the biggest part. It's tough to care about it. Yeah. But I think, again, if you're just able to find some silver lining and then just make jokes, even if they suck, you can make jokes about it. As long as it's not expensive to other players or people or things like that. If you asked me 5 years ago, I wouldn't have cared. But now that, I might have to interview somebody one day. I'm like, okay, let's not make the worst
joke about Scotty too much.
Oh, dude, you should have seen my... No, I can't say anything about Scotty. You should have seen my Twitter like 3 years ago. Oh, it's so bad. Like, Paul George was getting it. Doc Rivers was getting it.
Oh, boy.
Paul George was getting it?
For some reason, Paul George was like my number one enemy. For some reason, I would just
he took Kawhi away from us.
Yeah, and well, just the story too, right? Like, he married a stripper, and then he
had something with Doc Rivers.
That's what I'm saying. And then he ended up joining a team with Doc Rivers with the Clippers and everything, and that was just like, oh, this is the family drama. This is amazing. So he used to get it a lot for me, and B used to get it a lot for me. Like, but I used to tweet like I just, I didn't have a job, so I didn't have a job in the industry, so I could say whatever I wanted. But now it's like, okay, we gotta parental guidance it up, like package it up nicely, put a little bow on it. So it gets tougher, it gets tougher to make those kind of jokes. But I still think that's just taking it lightly, taking it easy is the best way to go about it.
Okay. So speaking of being funny on Twitter, we have a few of your tweets that we pulled up.
No.
Yeah, we can do this part right now. All right. Yeah. So we would love for you to explain some of these tweets to us. Okay. So the first one.
Oh, this is my favorite. That's my favorite.
I think I'm pregnant.
I know exactly what that is.
Yeah. And for context, it's her replying to a video of Halliburton going off the backboard to himself and hitting Siakam for a 3.
It was so sexy that I think I was pregnant. Literally, I was like, this is a man. This is what a man should be doing on the court. And it got me. And I thought about it. I'm like, should I send it? Should I not? Should I send it? Should I not? And I'm like, fuck it, just hit tweet. And I'm like, this is why I got hired. This is why I have to put these tweets out. And then you should see, like, in the comments, men are like, why would you say that? Why would you do
Men
this?
would say that?
Men are saying this, yeah. They're like, why would you say that? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. You're not pregnant? Like, what? You don't feel it? Are you kidding me?
I'll accept that. I'll take that explanation. Yeah.
Thank you.
Halliburton is coming up. He's sick.
That off the backboard pass to himself and the pass to thank God Siakam hit the 3, by the way.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say
that 3, that would have been a Halliburton would have probably traded himself to not hit the 3. But thank God he hit that 3, and just the way it was set up, like it was like his court vision. I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
what
I think it was
it's
also
brain, I'm like, holy shit, he knows things. Yeah,
he sees everything. I think it was also on the same day that Kobe had a very similar play, 10 years ago or something.
Yeah, that was the same. It was around the same time, and I remember seeing it was the same kind of play as well, where the Kobe was the first to do it, and then Hal was like, let me try it out, see what happens, and perfect, literally just perfect.
All right, awesome. All right, second tweet.
Oh shit. Starting
watching Raptors games at home, then suddenly you hear dick on television in a brown household.
Oh, that's my first time hearing it.
I had to go. No, it's not too far back.
No, you're not too
weeks
far back. Isn't that true?
That's gold.
Yeah, isn't that true? Imagine you're sitting at home. I can't watch the Raptors game on TV anymore because also they make all the jokes about it as well. And my parents are like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you watching?" First of all, you're in a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
Second of all, they're making dick jokes and they're saying dick on TV. Like what? But I was like, wait, do my parents know?
What it means?
What it means? Yeah, whatever.
So I got kind of caught off guard with that. I watched the Raptors games with my dad. He's a huge fan now.
Nice.
Yeah, he's like, oh, who's this new guy? I'm like, yeah, he's a new first-round rookie or whatever, right? He's like, oh, what's his name? I'm like, Grady Dick. He's like, Chad. And I'm just like, okay. What do we say now?
Do you know what that means? Just leave it.
Yeah, I'm like, he's 19.
Oh, man.
He's a young dick.
Oh.
Sorry, guys.
Strong. Strong shooter is what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Actually, I don't know if you identified this one, but you had another really freaking funny tweet, and it was about, again, Grady Dick. He was holding his jersey, and it says, Dick 1. And then I think Drake tweeted something, and then you said something in relation to that.
Drake was like a girl's,
the number of body counts that they have, and then...
Oh, and Drake was... Oh, Drake is so funny.
Drake is...
Yeah, he's
hilarious.
so sus. What did I say?
He's so sus?
Yeah, he's so sus. What did I
Yeah, he was going viral a few days ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we know.
We've talked about that already.
I remember that, but I forgot what I said to that. Do you remember?
I think you might have said that's facts or end of the joke. I think that's what you said.
Oh, and
Jokes
the joke. Yeah, joke's dead.
Joke's
Joke's
done.
dead. Yeah, because Drake made the joke. Okay, guys, joke's over.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Anita McSween.
The jokes police is here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I forgot about that one. That was a good one.
All right. We'll see if we can pull up more tweets from you.
No. Take your time.
So moving on from that, I think enough dick talk.
Oh, God.
Hopefully our parents aren't watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned that you're in a male-dominated industry. Which is obviously in sports, especially like male sports, NBA or anything like that. It is very male-dominated, very testosterone-dominated. Fan base mostly male. I guess people in the back office, the players mostly male.
Everywhere. Yep.
So what are the challenges that you faced being in this industry?
Oh man, you know what? I'll say I've faced similar challenges before. I used to work as a legal assistant, and I think a lot of places in terms of work industries, no matter where you are, they're still very male dominated, and you just get to see a bad side of some people, of especially some men, and that's the part that sucks. And I think coming into this, I was very hyper aware of what I had gone through in the past, so I knew I did not want to repeat that same problems here. And working for the people here, I made sure to do my due diligence. I reached out to everybody that I knew who had worked with these people in the past, and I was like, are these people normal? Like, should I go ahead with this? Like, how do they respect women? All those conversations that you're as a woman have to have. I had those convos, and the other added layer of that also was like, now you're a kind of a public person. You're putting your tweets out there. You're putting your takes out there, and that's gonna be, anyone can take that at face value and say whatever they want to you because of it. So it honestly gave me a very thick skin, and I'm like, I can just take anything and I can shove it off. But at the same time, I think a lot of that was like sexism and people not liking women and not wanting to share that space with women as well. But I think that actually was the easy part. I'm not going to lie, which is weird. Like, the online part of it has been easy. I don't think that has been an issue. That's something that I can deal with, no problem. The worst part is actually the men in the space itself, like in the industry, the men who are on top. And I tell this to young women who are going to be in the industry all the time. And I just say, trust your gut instinct. Because you wouldn't, and I think as a man, like, I wouldn't even blame you guys. Like, I think that you just wouldn't realize what women have to think about when they're even at the workplace. But for us, like, if a man comes to us and is like, hey, I can help you take you this from here to there, you got to wonder why. A lot of the times they got bad intentions. They have really bad intentions. And I think I'm a big believer in like making your own way and going about everything the right way. But just some men don't make it easy. They just don't make it easy. And you have to like think twice. I'm like, if someone's coming to me to ask me to work, I got to be like, what's the reason why you're asking me to work? Is it because you think I'm good at what I do? Or are you looking for, you have other intentions or motives afterwards? And I think as women, we go through that a lot in general, but especially in this industry, I've seen it happen way too much, to the point where men just think because they have this power where they can go and hire everybody and they can give people a way of life, they can get away with doing a lot because then they think that the woman owes them something. And that's a very prevalent issue everywhere in every industry. But it's especially bad here because I think we're just trying to grow, and everyone here is looking for a way in and to grow. And these men, they promise you, they're like, yes, come in, we'll help you, whatever. And their intentions are just in the worst places possible. And you can see it. You can tell. You can tell who's in it for the actual work and who's in it because it gets them closer to women. And that's the part that sucks.
Well, that's quite the insight. But that disparity that you mentioned from a societal perspective, right, within the sports media industry, do you think that disparity has the chance, and do you see ways where it can get better or more equal over the course of time?
I think as long as it's the same thing as I think other people say as well, but as long as you have enough seats in the office where like you have enough representation for women, for men, for especially like, people of color as well, if you have that, you have a perspective there, and then you have other people who have your back. Whereas if you walk into a room and it's going to be 9 out of 10 males, the odds of a woman being respected in that room are pretty damn low, especially if they're not good men. Like, I'm not saying all men are bad. That's not a thing at all. But I think a lot of the times where, like, when you're in those spaces, if one's bad, it kind of trickles down a little bit. Or even if it doesn't trickle down, no one does anything about it. And that's the issue with it. And I think, it sucks because, like, they're older guys, they're in their 40s, 50s. They have jobs that can bring you in, they can actually offer you jobs, and they're having these relations with younger women in their 20s who are just graduating, who are getting in the industry, and they think, okay, I got set up by this nice person that can go far. Little do they know, their intentions are in just the worst places possible.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's just what sucks. And I hope it gets better, but I think the only way it gets better is if you just have more seats in the room, and those seats are occupied by other people who look like other people, not just the same copy paste of that same white guy over and over again.
Yeah.
I think that's what has to change. But that's any industry, in my opinion. I think that goes along not just sports. It's probably just more public there.
Yeah.
Just all in your eyes, right? You can just tell it's all guys follow sports, guys play sports, whatever. But I think in terms of the office itself, the corporate entity itself, that's everywhere. And that's just kind of what has to change.
So 2 things here. Obviously, you're a woman in the sports media industry, but over and above, there's also a woman of color in the sports media industry. So how do you think your culture has influenced in the way you carry yourself within the sports media industry?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think it helped me in a very small way, but I've grown to appreciate it so much more because of it, where it's got, you can kind of tell, right, where when people are from different places, different mindsets, different walks of life, like how that affects their not just their work, but just the way that they carry themselves, and you can tell how it comes out in their work. And I think because of like being brown, being Muslim, being from Pakistan, all those places, there's a sense of like modesty attached to me and a sense of like humility attached to me. And I think that's something that I carry myself with. And a lot of our landscape, like sports, media, whatever, the women that are in it, people get told constantly, oh, you're just in it because you look a certain way. You're just in it because you just do whatever. And I try to be as different from that as possible, and I think it's because of my culture, because in our culture, like, we're supposed to be modest, we're supposed to be like, you're supposed to be not quieter, but I would just say you're not supposed to be like showing yourself off,
speak out as much.
and I think that's what helped me not be like, okay, well, here's me, but it made me actually put my work forward and get recognized for the work itself. And it wasn't just like, oh, she looks a certain way, so let's give her a job. It was more like, oh, actually she knows her stuff, and let's get her a job too. So I think that's what helped me be very much like, okay, we're not gonna post selfies, we're gonna post work, we're gonna do tweets. That's what we're gonna be doing. So that's what helped me out there.
I mean, you're definitely doing a fantastic job at it, as we've covered
Thank
already.
you.
You can go back to like women in sports. Do you see kind of women's participation in the industry increasing right now and over time?
I think so. I think there's a lot more rooms opening, a lot more seats being pulled for women. It's just a matter of like what kind of job. At the same time, it's still the same job where the woman's kind of hosting and she's interviewing, and you've watched First Take, and you got Molly in the middle, like just kind of narrating the conversation and being like, hey guys, focus. So I think that's where it needs to still change, where women aren't just there to be like your HR person, that you can use them as more than that. But I think people, especially in the NFL, do a great job. Like if you look at Mina Kimes, if you look at I'm blanking
Kay
on
Adams?
that. Yeah, Kay Adams, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, Kay Adams got her own show.
Yeah.
I know she got Shams whipped.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm like, she got her own thing going on. So I think there's so much room for that, and there's so much growth there. I think basketball is just coming up there in that way. It's still a little bit behind. I mean, Canadian sports in general are just like far behind when it comes to that. But in terms of just the grand scale of things, NFL is kind of on top, where they do give women that platform, and women are there to be the analytical person and give that insight, and not just be there to delegate the conversation. And I think it's going to catch on, but it's going to be a slow burn. Like it will take some time. It's going to take some, like, probably some generations dying out up there, boomers leaving the earth, and maybe we'll get there at some point. But I think it should be there soon.
And I think it's also, I am so excited with women's basketball, like basketball WNBA players who are coming up. Like we saw Steph versus Sabrina during the All-Star weekend. That was probably the best event of the whole weekend.
Fuck the commentary,
Yeah.
but
yeah. Kenny Smith. Like, let's not even talk about him.
Imagine being him after that.
He was getting flamed, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
And I think Caitlin Clark, I don't know if you've followed her games.
Of course.
I'm her biggest fan after Steph, probably. And I'm so excited for her to also come onto the scene in WNBA and show what she can do. And I think that's also gonna when we start getting these female superstar players, that also influences so many other women to get into this industry.
And you know what? I've seen so many men be like, I'm a Caitlin Clark fan. I haven't heard that before. They literally hold her at the same level of respect as like you would a Steph Curry, as you would like a LeBron. And granted, like, she's young, so we don't know how she's going to get there. But just the way that she's been playing and seeing the reception for her has been so eye-opening in terms of like, okay, honestly, I think the world is ready to embrace women in that role. And I think we've come far enough. Like if you look at Canada's soccer team for women, they have trumped men how many times in the past? Like our men's soccer team is like playing at the YMCA. Our women's team is like up subpar. They're amazing, and I think we'll get there slowly. It's just a matter of like getting there, and I think we're in the process of it. And the best part of it too, for me, when I was growing up, honestly, had I seen more women cover the sports that I was watching when I was watching soccer or even cricket growing up, if I watched women be there and like be a part of that, I think I would have probably pivoted to this lane before law, and I would have been like, you know what, I can see myself growing here, because you have to see yourself there, right? Like as a young woman, if you can see other women doing this when you're growing up, you're like, wow, there's a space for me there. I just never saw that space growing up. It was all male dominated everywhere. But now when you're the young women of today, when they're seeing women like Malika Andrews, Kay Adams, Mina Kimes, like cover their sports and be the women voices in their spaces, that's the reason why you're seeing women go to school for journalism now. They want to go cover sports broadcasting. They want to be in the sports spaces. So I think we're in the early stages of it, but maybe by like our lifetime, I think we should probably go pretty far. Even Caitlin Clark's lifetime, I think we'll get there, because she probably might be the one setting the precedent for that kind of thing.
You know, fun fact, in relation to cricket, on an international scale, Pakistan actually does have female commentators now.
I saw that recently.
Yeah, and it's very neat.
Really?
And India has like, you know, their male-dominated India Premier League. They just came out with the first season a couple days ago of Women's Premier League.
Oh, that is amazing.
It's amazing because, you know, like just generally like any dad watching anything, they have a couple of phases. Phase 1 is they're shook. They're like, oh, what the heck? Who's speaking? And then phase 2 is they just start listening, because what, male or female, you know, if the right words are coming out, the commentary, 100%. Then you just tune into that.
100%. I love that. I love that they're doing that there. And our countries need it, honestly, the most. India, Pakistan, like, I think if equality starts there, it can grow so much faster. Absolutely, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. And I think as like someone like who, as I said, if I have, let's say, a daughter in the future, I'd want her to be in sports. And so I want her to have role models to look up to, that whether it's someone who's a reporter, whether it's someone in media, or someone who's actually on the court playing, whether it's, I mean, hopefully she goes into WNBA, but hopefully she's a basketball fan. And I want her to have those role models. So that's why I'm super excited for Caitlin Clark to see what she can do.
Yeah, and even the PWHL league opening up here in and for America and for Canada for like women's hockey and stuff, and them being able to play these games. I'm like, there's so many more ways that we're seeing women's sports grow, and like we really are. Like, we're the OGs of having this started, right? Like, by the time we have kids, I'm sure the economy of it will be very well settled. Whereas, like, right now, we're still kind of figuring out and stuff, right? But I think, I don't know, 5-10 years from now, we should probably see a little bit more of a women takeover in that space. And I'm excited. Screw you guys. It's our turn now. Sorry.
Absolutely. Go. Coming back into the world of sports media, I know you've mentioned how in Canada, it can be a little tough. We only have pretty much Toronto as a only market. And the fandom you mentioned, like in US, it's a lot bigger than it is here. So have you considered, or what is the difference, I would say, between Canada and USA when it comes to the sports media industry?
Opportunities. Way more opportunities in the States. Just way more. And you mentioned it too, because like, as you guys said, there's so many sports happening there. Like America really is the hub of like their leagues when it comes to NFL. All NFL teams in the US, right? Most MLB teams are in the US as well. You have one in Canada. Most NBA teams in the US as well. You have one in Canada as well. NHL, it's a little bit more scattered, but like, I'm sorry, that's like a fourth sport that I'm not looking at NHL right now, my bad. But because of that, like there's about 29 teams in the States and 3 teams in Toronto. Yeah. And no other spot than Toronto actually has an NBA team, an MLB team, and there's no NFL anywhere here. There's nothing like that. We have our own Argos, we have our CFL system, but those guys are, you know, struggling themselves to get people to come watch their games. It's tough over there for those guys. So I think just in terms of, and maybe it's related to population because we're so much less, you know, in density when it comes to the States as well. So maybe there's that. But I think it's just a matter of the way that the game has been marketed to the people of Canada. I don't think that there's not a passion here. Look at the Raptors turnout. Yep. It was the biggest parade turnout, including the States, when it came to a basketball championship. 3 million people.
Yeah, we felt it. We were there.
I was first. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was making sure I was going to be like first in line. I think I was like 7 rows from
really
when they were. Yeah, to the point where like, you know, when the shooting happened, I couldn't move because they told our section not to move because like everyone else behind us was moving everywhere. And in that moment, I'm like, I'm gonna have to jump heads. Like I'm gonna have to hop over people's heads to make out safe because
you didn't feel when the shooting happened, did you?
No, I saw where people first started running, so I started running away from them.
That's smart. That's how you do it.
Because we went separately. I think you were much closer to the front.
That's correct.
We were near the back where the shooting actually happened.
Oh, so that's
that was scary.
Because you guys were like by that like the pain area, right?
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right
yeah,
behind
yeah.
it happens.
Yeah.
I was legit like 7 rows from the front, and we just hear Maddie D goes, "Everybody, please calm down. This minute." I'm like, "What do
Yeah.
you mean? What do you mean calm down? I'm ready to fly." And he's like, "No. If you're sitting here, don't move." So my section just legit could not move. So
Yeah.
they were told like, "You get shot. You get shot." So I was like, "What am I supposed to do?" So I was that far ahead. But like being there, watching all of that,
Yeah.
seeing how packed the city was,
Ooh.
and just seeing like. Even that year or the years prior to, like the Raptors right now, I will not compare them to the Raptors of the We the North era. Even when we were like sucking in the playoffs, the regular season, you saw sold out tickets. You saw people walking around the streets in Raptors attire. Like it was such an environment of like, this is a sports town. Same with the Leafs. Like if they're good, the Raptors are good. It becomes such a sports town. The Jays as well. But I think it really falls on the broadcasters marketing it to the people of Canada. And they do a very crappy job of it, where if you look at the States and how they cover their sports, I had no idea. Like I don't follow NFL that closely. I know what's happening, but I don't follow it that closely just for work purposes. And when I was watching the Super Bowl, the way they narrated the entire Super Bowl lineup, the teams to me, what it meant for them, I was like, I want both teams to win. Like I understood both teams. I'm like, holy crap! Like I'm a fan now. But I think that is just not sold to us. We don't have storylines. We don't get told like, here's why you should support your team, your players, whatever. For us, it's almost just like you know, the players have to come to us and be like, hey, can we get some support here or what? But they don't do that. And within like TSN, within Sportsnet, I think Sportsnet just started to have like a little bit more of a Raptors department with like the Raptors show and everything. TSN still doesn't have anything when it comes to basketball. They don't have anything when it comes to the Blue Jays. Like they have their broadcast team, but broadcast team is not good enough. You need to put out marketing and you need to reach the younger audience, and they don't do that here. States is so much better at it, and I think we give them crap all the time from being here because we're like, oh, we're all posh and we're like put together. We talk about numbers. But States is like, you know, they got Barstool Sports. They have all these little companies, House of Highlights, where Bleacher Report, where like it's very fan oriented. It's very much about like you're having laid back convos, and it's as if you're at the bar talking about the game with your friends. And I don't think we do enough of that here. I think we try to make everything very like intellectualized or just we just don't give it enough money. And I think that's where we're falling back. And the States, I don't think we have any short of passion. The passion is 100% there, but we just don't give it the funding or the money. That's what sucks.
So I'm not sure if you have insight into this, but a bit back in the day, let's say within the last decade, the Score had their own channel. And those two guys, I'm probably forgetting the name and you probably know it, but I felt like they brought a different angle, you know, compared to Sportsnet and that of TSN.
Yeah.
Less formal, more like taking jabs, more and all of that stuff. So where are they now?
I think the Score canceled all their stuff, right? Like the Score barely has anything. They just have their app now and like their website, but that's pretty much it.
I invested in their stock, so
yeah. Oh, you did. I'm sorry.
Did not go well.
But they were supposed to be like, even the people that I know. I wasn't watching sports in Canada at that time, but like I was watching the foreign ones. But people that grew up here were like, yeah, the Score was like the spot that like kind of mirrored the Bleacher Report-esque kind of the vibe that people were giving off there. But they got cut. I mean, I'm sure you guys heard about the Bell cutting down all those radio jobs, like 50% of them that got cut. And every other day you hear about layoffs from Bell, from Rogers, like everywhere. And it really is like just because we don't have have the money, but they don't want to give the funding to this, which to me is just stupidity and insanity. I'm like, if you want your economy to grow, would it not make sense to invest within the cities itself? But they don't do that at all here, and we pay for it at the end of it because like then there's no growth for the people like us, and this is why a lot of our great people, like I'm sure you guys know, No Dunks, like Jay and stuff, like they're in the States. Like we had Sirat, who was an amazing writer at Yahoo. She got moved to the Ringer.
She's with the Ringer.
Yeah, she's with the Ringer. So all those people who were like making something of themselves, they end up moving to the States because they're capped out with Canada. They can't do anything more in Canada. And that's how a lot of people feel, where you're like, okay, I'm here, but what's my next step? And then when you close your eyes, you're like, okay, next 5 years from now, what do I see? It's black. It's blank.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing. And I think that's what is holding a lot of the creators back in Canada. And this is why we moved to the States. And I'm down to do the same thing too. I'll jump ship. I don't care. I have no loyalty to Canada. I'm an immigrant. I don't care.
No O Canada here.
Yeah.
But I think talking about storylines too, I think Raptors kind of had an ingrained storyline when they were coming up before, so it made it easier. Like you have a country / a team which have been struggling throughout their whole existence, and all of a sudden they're becoming a little better. They're becoming good. They have the rivalry with LeBron. It's not really a rivalry.
LeBronto.
We call it LeBronto. And then it culminates in winning the championship.
Yeah.
But I think what the blow we got was Kawhi leaving. And
Yeah. I think they just thought he was going to be the moneymaker, which he was. Like he was like the number. Which to me also was like, Kawhi, you also were stupid. Like, why would you leave a spot where you were, granted the king of the North?
Yep.
New Balances were sold out in a frigging
Yes.
hour.
You get to eat free at restaurants.
You were whining and dining
Whining and
everywhere.
dining.
Like you had choppers following you.
Yeah.
Your
But I think that was a double-edged sword, though.
No,
He's
that was bad.
a
That-
guy
he
like
hated
him
that.
who doesn't want coverage. There's a chopper flying up on him, and he's just like,
I can't believe CP24 said a freaking choppers there. I know. I was like, what do you guys think? The guy who like doesn't even have social media, you're gonna follow him with a chopper? Are you kidding? But he just wanted to go home, which is fine. I'm like, whatever, just go home. It's all good. But yeah, it's even with the Jays and stuff, with the Leafs, I'm like, there's so many ways to cover these sports. And yes, you can do that by giving the space to the players and the Nepo babies. That's fine. But I don't think the fan experience gets to be captured that way. And only fans can reach out to other fans the way that, the Bleacher Reports, the House of Highlights, the people give shit to Barstool Sports. But I'm like, they're doing something right. It's very authentic there, which is why people listen to it.
Yeah.
And we just don't have that here. I think that's the part that holds Canada back. But I think that's, again, any industry in Canada, because I have people who do, like, I have friends who are in accounting. I have friends who do, a lot of other things, engineering, whatever. And even them are like, yeah, we cap ourselves out in Canada. Like there's a certain ceiling
yes,
here.
we do.
Yeah.
Right? Would you guys know that too?
Accountant, yeah.
Gotta
go to the States someday or the Middle East, something like that.
Damn, eh? So is that like part of your plan? Have you thought about that seriously?
It's always, far-fetched, but I think as you go into your late 20s, into your early 30s, you actually have to give it actual consideration, because Canada, you get capped out, whether it's the whole tax system or just opportunities. I think you got to contemplate somewhere else with just like less income taxes and more opportunities.
100. Well, even with accounting too, right? Like I have friends who do that too, and they're like, yeah, you can do accounting here for sure, but there's a small amount of companies where you can really grow with.
Exactly.
And once you grow with them, they're like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Now where do I go from here? So I've had people who are like, yeah, no, they're either working remote from here to the States, or they've had to move their entire families there. But it's just you get capped out in Canada. And the worst part is, like, it wasn't bad before, because you're like, okay, whatever, I'll make a comfortable life. It is what it is. I got healthcare. But now you're like, wait, bananas are $10. What do you mean? So now everything's going up. My pay stays the same. I can't get a house. You can't do anything. And even if you go to Guelph and stuff, like Ancaster, Hamilton, it's so tough to be able to make a living now. And I think that's what's driving people out of Canada. Plus taxes. Like, I'll pay my taxes, no problem. I'll pay them. But where are they going?
Yeah.
Like, Freddie made a clear statement why he wanted to go to Houston. He's probably looked at his pay stub. He's like, I could probably keep at least 3 times that more.
Exactly. He's like, no customs.
Yeah.
Fucking right. I'll
Texas is the way to go. Yeah.
I dream about buying a house in Texas. I mean, that's the only place I could probably afford.
You see those mansions? Like,
see, the thing is, you don't have to dream. It's only what, 200-300K?
Yeah, it's nothing. I'm like, I can buy a house in Texas right now, or I'll be homeless in Toronto. Like, how insane is that discrepancy? And I get it. Like, there's so many places in the States too where like you're gonna be struggling as well. But at least there's a lot more opportunity in every of those places. Where in Canada, like, if you go to Saskatchewan, what are you
working the oil rigs? That's about it.
Are you CBSA patrol officer? Like, what else are you doing over there? RCMP? Nothing else, right?
Yeah.
So I think you just cap yourself out here. But it's the Canadian higher up people problem. And like, it's the Bell, the Rogers, the companies, the government, like, it's all those things. So it's like, how are you going to retain the people who have paid their life dues, the blood, sweat, and tears to be here, but now they're like, hey, this is not good enough for me. I need to go somewhere else. Yeah. So that should be a wake-up call to them, in my opinion. But
there's so much brain dump just going out of Toronto, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, people, entrepreneurs, like I hear about so many successful entrepreneurs who move from here to San Francisco, let's say. People working in sports, people Like I work in software, so yeah, for me, most people end up in San Francisco, whether they, but they get their education here, they grow up here, but can't retain that. I think that's like a problem in pretty much every industry, especially when it comes to the high cost of living in Toronto. Like I used to live in Ottawa before.
Oh, me too. No way. Yeah, I just went to Carleton.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think I saw that on your profile. Yeah, I forgot.
Were you there for work?
So my wife, she went to school there, and so while she was in school there, I was over there. Yeah.
Where did she go?
Ottawa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I actually used to live near Carleton.
Oh no way! I'm sorry. That sucks.
Yeah, like in Little Italy, which is like not too far from Carleton. Yeah.
I used to live in Little Italy too.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Not bad, but like it's not the same as Toronto, eh?
No, definitely not. That was probably the most happening area in Ottawa.
Yeah, it was.
Which is to say, not much happening.
No.
Like he's visited me in Ottawa, and
well, what have they got? Shawarmas and.
I will say, the best shawarma I've ever had is in Ottawa. 100%.
Shawarma Palace?
Shawarma Palace?
I don't know, dude. I forget the names of it, but I remember like I would order shawarma first thing in the morning, and that would be my lunch.
First thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning. Like shawarma in the door, and that was fed me for the full day. And it would be like the best shawarma. Because like I think Ottawa has a big Middle Eastern population as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Middle Eastern students as well that come there to Carleton, especially. It's all engineering based at Carleton, so it's all those engineering students there from like Middle East everywhere. And their shawarmas are just next level. But did you like the cold?
No, hell no.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was bad, eh?
The amount of snow. Like why? We're brown. We're not made for that.
No, I know. My parents are like, first of all, Ottawa. Second of all, first of all, Canada. Second of all, Ottawa. Are you kidding me? But my school actually had tunnels.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so when
I've been through those.
I was at Carleton for my first year, and our entire building, our entire campus, it has tunnels.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be outside. You can access anything from like going like in the basement and just walking around in the tunnels.
Oh, really?
Almost like rats, I guess.
Yeah, I've been through those tunnels. My cousin also went to Carleton.
Oh no way! Yeah,
so I think I went over to hang out with them, and it's like, oh, those are cool. Like, go through tunnels.
I didn't see the sun for like a month. I think I was thinking about heading out.
Yeah, we actually did a whole segment on it, and a few podcasts ago where we were talking about how boring Ottawa is, and I was just like, I was like, I'm so glad to be back here.
Yeah.
But going back to the high cost of living, now my cost of living has doubled.
Yeah.
While I'm still making the same amount, and I'm like, I can't live here.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing, right? Like the problem is there's inflation, and you're like, okay, yeah, inflation happens. It happens in like that's the way of life. Inflation happens. Yeah. But like at the same time, this is just accelerating over the past 10 years. It's just gone insane. And usually you got inflation, you got your pay. Like it's somehow neck and neck a little bit every now and then. Lost it. Landslide win victory. Like how am I supposed to keep up and catch up and do all these things? And then all those places don't pay well enough, or even if they do, like the growth is just not as fast there. So a lot of people just they want to go to the States, and I'm like, States is not the best. Like States, it's for us to consider the States. Imagine where our like standards are at. Like I'm like, if I have a kid there, I gotta be like, okay, here's a bulletproof vest. Like put it on before you go to school. Like it's so bad, but I'm like, I'll do it because Canada sucks. What am I supposed to do here?
Oh, good.
I can't make money.
After all that, I guess, what do you have like next in store for, I guess, your career within the sports media industry? What do you envision for yourself? And do you have, quote unquote, a dream role?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that changes over time constantly, just because the industry changes so fast over time. And I thought like being able to grow and being able to get to a point, like I don't want to be like, oh, I want to be Kay Adams, but like to get to a certain level like that, I think would be amazing, because she got to work with a bunch of people, and she was able to she showed off her personality, but at the same time, she was there with other people who made her better, who she learned a lot from. And then now she's got to a point where she's working for FanDuel TV, and she has her own show, and she has her own guests coming in, and that's amazing. And I think that's kind of like the way that I would like to see myself grow in that, where I think I don't pretend to be someone who's like, yes, I know everything about basketball. I'm like, I don't want to be that person. I'm not that person, but like, I want to be the storyteller. I want to be the person that's there, that's humanizing the athletes, that's making you understand, like, they're not just players on the court, they're actual people. They have, funny quirks, they have problems, they have shit, whatever else. So I think that's the route that I see myself going down, if there's a lane for that. But that is my issue, where I'm just like, I know where I want to go, but the path to there just seems so first of all, it's not even paved in Canada. Like, I'm gonna have to pave that path myself here because
Yeah.
there's no such thing as a Kay Adams job in Canada. It's just not happening here, you know? And I'm like, if there's anyone who I see maybe emulating that in Canada, in that sports realm in Toronto, I don't see a lot of it. Like, I think even with men, not gonna lie, not that funny. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm like, all these guys are just like, I'm so serious. Here's my sport. I'm like, you know, you can't, the way that audience is, you have to make them enjoy something. And I think the enjoyable factor is just not there for a lot of people in this industry in Canada. And I think that's something that I'll say I can do a little bit.
Yeah.
And I thank you. Appreciate it. And I think that's just the way I see myself growing. I'm like, just through the entertainment lanes where I want to grow. I don't care to be like, or I don't want to be the person that goes there and is like, here's my analytics, here's my breakdown, here's what I think is going to happen. Because those things are also so fickle. They're going to change time and time again. But I'm like, to be able to have a field that's just for you and you're actually naturally good at it is where I would like to grow. But it's legit just a matter of, is that space available in Canada? It isn't, but can we make it? And that's the question. I don't know if we can.
I think you'll make it, and that's a challenge I think you can definitely take on. And
thank you. You know what? I hope so. But the issue is like, it's not me. It's having to get invested with those companies, and they are killing jobs and making jobs, and that's the part that sucks because they don't view, because you know, think about it, like Rogers and Bell, they own these sports and they have these sports and these whatever, and they have rights to it. But like, this is the last on their priority list. They make phones, they have cable, they sell all those other things that make them so much more money.
Yeah.
So to them, this is just like, okay, we're just doing something. And I think if anything, to be honest, they probably lose money on it than they do make it. And I understand why. But it's on them because they don't market it well enough. But to them, this is just like, this is legit like, oh, their little brother. They don't care about sports like that. They're like, well, they make the money off of their phone plans, which are, I mean, don't get me started. So I just came back from the States and I saw their commercials and I'm like, you're paying for your phone plans? Do you know what? Like, it's insane. But that's what they make off of us, plus, you know, the cables and all that stuff. So they have the hot commodity over everything in Canada. So they don't care about the sports because it won't make them as much money ever. So to them, like, it's all about the profit. And I think I've shit on them like a billion times on this podcast, but they deserve it. I think it's all on them. I think they deserve it.
it's actually crazy how much of the Canadian economy these two companies control.
They are everything.
They are everything, and we don't even have a choice to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
No,
It's like,
because you know, I used to work at Rogers, and this is why I know I hate them.
Yeah.
This is how they get you, because like Rogers and Bell, so they have their two companies, and these are, you know, phone, billing, home, internet service, whatever. And then they also have their other companies there too, where it's, I think for Rogers, they have Rogers, but then they also have a smaller company. I forget what it's called. Fido, yes. And then I think Bell has TELUS.
Virgin.
Oh, Virgin, yes.
And then
Virgin.
the third is TELUS. It's just like their.
wait, TELUS is also under Bell?
No, TELUS is on its own.
Oh,
Bell,
yeah, but-
Bell
Okay,
Rogers,
okay.
TELUS, Bell, Virgin, Rogers, Fido.
And then they also have, so they cover the family plans, and they cover the individual plans through Fido and through
Virgin.
Virgin, yes.
Yep.
And then they also have the plans for the cheaper people, where you know how you go pay as you go.
Yeah.
So Chatter is through Rogers,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I forget what Bell has too.
Lucky Mobile.
Yes, that's the one. Or like,
Was it Public? No, Public is a separate one.
It got discontinued.
oh, that makes
Oh, there's
sense.
Freedom now.
Yeah.
Freedom's the other one.
Freedom's owned by Shaw, though, and Shaw's an American company.
Isn't Shaw bought out by Bell though, or Rogers?
She's correct.
Bell is everywhere.
Oh, guys, we're ruined by two companies in the entire fucking country.
Yeah.
And they tell us what to pay, what to do, what to say, and all that stuff. So I'm like, and those two companies are family-owned companies. Like, they're run by families. So it's just a big monopoly where, like, we're in Canada, and it sucks because it almost sometimes feels like we're just little hamsters in wheels.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who are really controlling everything at the top. And then I'm like, I'm not being controlled anymore. I'm going to go to the States.
Yeah.
So that's honestly, like, I think where a lot of people's done with Canada comes in from, because they do control everything here.
Yeah. No, we felt that too. Now, you've talked about a lot about your journey here, and we've covered women coming into the industry and all that. So, as someone who's in the industry, what advice would you give? First of all, people in general, and then also specifically towards women. who want to get into sports media and work in sports?
I think to anyone out there, I would say just make sure it is something that you want to do, and make sure that you see a line for yourself in the next 5-10 years, and be prepared to be discouraged. But at the same time, remember that you're in this because it's a very big passion of yours, and you see yourself growing in it. So I think that's important to remember, because it's comes off, it's very glamorous, super fun. Like, my friends think the best part about my job is the fact that every now and then I'll be out, downtown Toronto somewhere, and someone will just come and be like, "Are you Noor?" And the way I look so cool next to my friends, I'm like, that to me is the best part about my job.
Yep.
Fuck the money, fuck everything. I mean, that's amazing.
Street cred right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, who can say that?
Yeah.
But I think for women especially, in this time and age where everyone says, like, they want diversity, they want to hire people that look like other people, and they want to give everyone a chance to be able to be represented, just trust your gut instinct when you're being put in those positions, because you want to be able to trust the person who's offering you that. And a lot of the times in this industry and everywhere else, I think, I would just say be wary of men that promise you things, and be wary of men who might have other intentions behind what they're offering you. And just work smart, respect yourself, have clear boundaries of what you want and what you will and won't do. And just believe in yourself. Yeah, be authentic. Be authentic. Don't try to follow any other line. Pave your own path. And I think that becomes like the most rewarding part, is when I think about it, I'm like, I didn't go to school for this. I have no idea. Like, my first time learning about what an IFB was, the stuff that you put inside your ear, was when I was first going live. And I'm like, I had no idea what all this stuff is. I had to learn how to hold a conversation, facilitate it, learn what all this, like, the broadcasting industry looks like, the production part of it. And, I became that by just like making my own path. Like, I was able to do that, kind of dig my way through and figure out what this lane looks like for me. And that just became the most rewarding part, where I was like, I did not follow the normal way that people go. I was able to do this in a way that I'm like, wow, I can't believe I ended up here, but what a cool journey.
Cool journey it is. You got anything else to add?
No, I'm good.
All right. One last question from my side for you.
Of course.
What's your fondest memory of either meeting someone or, as you mentioned earlier, someone coming up to you?
I should have thought about that before.
It's not Shams, is it?
I honestly, I'm like, it might be Shams. That's interesting. Can I say both? Because
absolutely.
It's super interesting. Like, every now and then, where I don't realize, like, because to me, Twitter doesn't mean anything. I'm like, okay, Twitter is like, I got on Twitter because I was like, my friends aren't on Twitter. So I'm going to go and say things that my friends aren't going to see and make fun of me for. So I pivoted off Instagram for Twitter for that reason. So I don't see Twitter as being like this big social media. But what I was able to do with it, and then every now and then, like I said, if I'm like the other day, we were out at this concert downtown, and with my friends, and this guy comes up to me, and he's like, "Are you Noor from Twitter?" And I immediately was just like, "How?" Like, every time I'm just like, "That's the craziest thing that you guys, that people out here know this." Because in my eyes, I'm like, Twitter, who goes on Twitter? Like, what is Twitter? And who remembers who's on Twitter? So when I see stuff like that, I'm like, okay, it really is like going beyond just me, and it's reaching other people, which is just the most amazing feeling in the world. And I would say meeting someone. I got to interview Stanley Johnson one time. That was super cool. I think this was like right when he was with us, and he was about to leave for the Lakers, and this is before like he kind of like blew off with the Lakers. So I was like, I know him. I had an interview with him, so that was super cool. But honestly, the best part was Shams, like walking up to Shams, being like, "I'm Noor from
Brampton."
Noor from Brampton.
That to me still makes my day. I'm like, I wonder if he remembers. He's like, "They're a weird girl." But every now and then, like since then, I've been to Vegas as well for Summer League, and like he'll be like, I'm walking, and you see Shams everywhere in Vegas for that weekend. I don't know, is there like 3 of you? Like how is that possible?
That man does not sleep. I don't think
he doesn't. No, there's no way. But he's like everywhere, and then like I'll see him, and I'll like make make eye contact, and I'm like, I'm not gonna look away. Like, maybe he won't recognize me, but like we don't say anything at that point because I'm not hammered. But like I'm just like it's so funny that I saw him and I'm like brown on brown crime. Let's go. I'm like I'm from Brampton, you too.
Shams is
my
the GOAT over Woj any day.
Yeah, I agree. He's our people, man. We gotta support our people. Exactly.
What about Stephen A?
Stephen A is good, but again, Shams. He's got the what's like? I think I saw him from those clips of him and Kay Adams.
He's got Riz.
He's from Islamabad.
Is that what he said?
No, I think people say he's from Islamabad.
He's from Islamabad. Oh, I like that one. I'm gonna use that one. I like the Islamabad. No, he's funny. He's charming as well. Like I've seen his clip with Kay Adams. I'm like, I get it. She's like gushing and blushing all over the whole time. Yeah. So I get it. But no, he's fun. And I just hope that there's more opportunities, more things like that. Actually, I was close with Scotty one time, and you don't realize how big these guys are. That's the one thing where I look at them and I'm like, yeah, there's a whole factor of like you're a celeb, you're whatever. Yeah. But just their body, I'm like, that's God-given talent. That's legitimately God-given talent. Yeah, yours is not a normal body. Yeah. And he looks like he's like Giannis, like Kawhi, like into one in their like prime. Like it's nuts. So they're watching them in person, you're like, how God has his favorites. Like God picks which ones he's gonna give the best parts to. So that's the nuts part.
Absolutely. Hopefully he turns into Giannis and Kawhi combined into one.
Yeah, I mean, waiting for it, right?
We're waiting for it. He'll get there. All right, I think that's it from my side. You got anything else?
We're good.
All right, thanks a lot, Noor. Actually, anything you want to plug for our audience right here?
Yeah, if you guys ever like anything Raptors oriented, anything NBA oriented, check me out on Twitter. It's just Noor Zainab. And but check out these guys because they actually bring on like proper professionals on their podcast who get into their work and their thing. And honestly, I might have to have a listen to that afterwards too to figure out what my next step is, which way I should go down. Like, is there growth in Canada? I don't know. But you guys got something great going on, and we talked about this too, but your setup, everything is fantastic, and keep doing you. You guys are killing it.
All right, thank you. We really appreciate that. That gives us a lot of confidence to hear that from someone who actually, again, is in media because we're just here starting from scratch. We're learning everything as we go. We didn't even know what proper interview etiquettes were until like a few weeks ago.
No, you guys are killing it. Yeah.
Did we just chat GPT it?
We're like going through chat GPT for questions, but no, for this one we actually came on our own.
You guys were like, hey, you know what the world needs? One more podcast.
But yeah, thanks a lot for coming down. Thanks a lot for gracing us with your presence.
Oh, come on.
And also, you gave us your time, and we really appreciate that.
Of course.
You came down. It's from Brampton, as you
mentioned. Brampton.
Yeah, that's a tough drive. Every time you go out in Brampton, it's like you gotta be careful.
Like, will you make it back home?
You gotta contact your insurance and stuff. Like, hey, I'm going out.
Life insurance too. Everybody, all insurance.
Anyways, yeah, thanks for coming down. We're tuning out again. You have myself, Salvi. You have Naveed, and our guest Noor, and we out.